evening, doll lovers of the interwebs. I'm Alexa, resident ooky spooky girly and creepy doll expert, and I'm honestly so excited about today. So the popular American creepy dolls tend to dominate the media and interwebs so much that one really should ask themselves more often about traditions from around the world. On that note, don't worry folks, I did all the heavy lifting for everybody today. Question for you all though, what's your favorite doll? I'll always be partial to Barbie myself, or the Mycene dolls, but let me know your answer in the comments, and welcome to the top 5 scary cursed dolls from Japanese folklore. Number 5. Okiku. In 1918, a young man purchased the doll that would later on claim the name of Okiku as her own for his younger sister, and the legend would kickstart an entire tourism flash. So during this era, Japan was still stuck in the ways of feudalism. While the world around was, embracing the progress of technology and science, Japan was holding tight to their beliefs and to the rich mythology and fables. This was a land, and still is by all accounts, where demons, ghosts, vampires, and other creatures roamed free. My kind of place. A land where goblins and evil spirits were constantly harassing normal folks. Okay, not so fun. But on February 3rd, you drove evil spirits away by going to shrines and through rituals and folklore practices, known as Setsuban events. This is also a place where lake monsters gobbled up tiny humans, by the way, and I am all for that. Woods though, like Aokigahara, northwest of Mount Fuji, drove people insane and compelled them to sadly end their lives. But don't worry, fun fact, foxes were sacred and devoted animals. Japanese culture was and still is fraught with legends and the supernatural boogeyman. And hey, dolls, some of them, were the most powerful instruments of magic. You didn't mess with them. Something I firmly stand by. So this doll in particular was bought in Sapporo by 17-year-old Eikichi Suzuki in 1918 for his little sister, Okiku. He was touring the region for a maritime exhibition, and the doll instantly caught his attention. The perfect little thing sat on a shop window, enticing him. Now Suzuki didn't think twice. He went in, instantly purchased the figurine for his sister, and used the last of his money for it. The little doll was about 40 centimeters tall and dressed in a traditional kimono, and just absolutely exquisite to look at. Its hair was raven black and cut to roughly shoulder length in a traditional okappa hairstyle. Her eyes were piercing coals that seemed to swallow everything up in their gaze. The thing was mesmerizing and enchanting, something to take your breath away. Suzuki went right back home and gave the doll to his little sister. And what do you know? She fell in love with the doll immediately. It transformed into Okiku's favorite toy, and more importantly, her best friend. She played every day with the doll, she took it everywhere, treated the figurine like a little sister. She would talk and, hang out with the thing, feed it, sleep with it, and she decided to call the doll Okiku, a mirror duplicate of herself. The doll never left the girl's sight. Sadly, a year later in 1919, tragedy struck. Poor little Okiku passed away from yellow fever, gasping for air in pain and afraid. The doll held firmly in her grasp. The family wanted to bury the doll along with the girl, but circumstances and governmental oversight prevented this last act of kindness on their part, so the doll was never laid to rest with the young girl. The doll was alternatively placed in the family's altar, which is a common practice in certain Japanese households to commemorate the dead. The small shrine celebrated their daughter and marked her passing into the afterlife. And that's when the weirdness started to occur. One family started to notice that the doll's hair was getting longer. Once a traditional shoulder-length cut with neat ends, it was now a mangled mess of split ends reaching down past her waist. Hey, don't look at my hair. It was scruffy, different colors, and felt different. At night, the family started to dream of the young girl, and sometimes the doll would appear by their side come morning. The chilling events intensified and grew into full-blown acts of spiritual infestation. We're talking all the usual suspects. Lights flicking on and off, bangings in the house, noises and strange voices, and the closer the year got to certain dates, things got crazy. We're talking like Okiko's birthday and the day of her death. Over time, the family was certain, and town shamans and spiritual leaders concurred that their daughter's soul was in fact trapped within the doll. By 1938, the family relocated to a different district and had now become accustomed to Okiku and even grown fond of their daughter's restless spirit. Since to them, it was a magical and unique opportunity to interact with the dead. But this time they didn't want to take the doll, but when they moved, they didn't want to take the doll with them, fearing that what fueled her magic was the proximity to their daughter's grave. So the family approached the local temple and asked them to take care of the doll. Now the temple by now had heard countless stories of the amazing doll. The haunted doll whose hair was growing every year. The priest gleefully accepted the charge and started taking care of Okiku. Over time, they've managed to confirm the veracity of some of the claims, particularly that the hair does indeed grow. The priests have sent out samples of the hair for scientific analysis, and have proved that the hair was that of a young human. Regularly, the hair does get a trim these days, and the doll stays happy and content. As the years passed on, the doll's fame grew and her powers further developed. She's a lot bolder now, invading the dreams of the priest and those that come to visit her. She's also stronger, her hair is is growing faster and wilder, and she's even spookier. You know what, my kind of girl. The latest event driving tourists mad was the frightening claim that the mouth of Okiku is slowly opening, and that if you dare to peer inside, you may be able to glimpse something like baby teeth sprouting like weeds from porcelain gums. Okay, that's a big nope from me. But hey, I'd still go visit the doll. Number 4, the Daruma Doll. The legend goes that Bodhidharma sat and meditated for so long that he became like a round tumbler doll. During his travels, he stopped for a time in a Shaolin monastery in China, founding the famous homonymous martial art. He then continued his journey until he decided to settle into a cave and meditate. And this is where the story of the Daruma begins. The monk became a wall gazer. He meditated, we're talking eyes to a wall, in a seated position for 9 years, without breaks and without closing his eyes except once after 7 years. And he was so furious at himself for what he perceived as a lack of discipline that he sliced his own eyelids off so as to prevent himself from ever sleeping again. As the eyelids touched the ground, they sprouted green tea plants. Now this legend is one of the reasons behind Buddhist monks often drinking green tea to stay awake. Look, I can barely stay awake for 48 hours at a time, not that many years. Oh, on top of the self-mutilation, our lovely leader also suffered the loss of his arms and legs as a consequence of his immobility for 9 years. Art and folklore depicting Bodhidharma show him almost exclusively displaying these characteristics, which is why the Daruma dolls, in all its aspects, symbolize the positions and features of, let's just call him B for short. This doll is the Daruma and is said to have been created by the Buddha's followers after his passing. It has been around for over 1500 years at this point, and that's not a doll I think I need to add to my collection. Number 3, Kokeshi Doll. So these dolls are known for their simple cylindrical shapes and vibrant colors, but there is a dark and eerie story associated with them that goes way beyond their charming appearance. Kinda like me. If before you meet me, I'm cute. Afterwards, oof. Aoyama was an obstetrician, and his family's clinic was adorned with a chilling collection of Kokeshi dolls, each representing a terminated pregnancy. Now, Aoyama believed these dolls were made to appease the spirits of those who had left, a claim rooted in a macabre urban legend. He even mentioned a gruesome midwife who supposedly cut off her own arms in penance for her sins. While these stories were fabricated, they added to the eerie atmosphere of his house, which was filled, once again, to the brim with these Kokeshi dolls. Over time, the collection grew, spilling into the family's residence. Now, when the person who's telling the story to me today visited his house, it had an even more ominous era, with the dolls strewn about, an unsettling reminder of, you know what. Strangely, Aoyama was unchanged, except for the fact that he had lost both arms in an accident. He equated himself to a Kokeshi human and lamented his inability to do his job without arms. Aoyama's passing the following year marked the end of his eerie collection, but his mother continued to live in the house, surrounded by nearly 1,000 Kokeshi dolls. Strangely, the witness to this chaos took home one of the Kokeshi dolls Aoyama had made, and afterwards experienced unsettling dreams and hallucinations. Yeah, no thank you, that doll can stay far, far away. Number 2, Iki Ningyo. It all began with Junji Inagawa, a multi-talented artist deeply involved in traditional Japanese plays who stumbled upon a peculiar incident during a late-night radio broadcast. A distressed crew member claimed to have heard the voice of a fan who had passed away months ago, sending shivers down their collective spine. Now, Inagawa, no stranger to the mysteries of the supernatural, encountered something inexplicable on the way back home. A young girl in a red kimono, seemingly ordinary until she defied gravity, hold your horses wicked fans, and approached him, unseen by others. This marked the start of his unsettling journey. As he delved into a new theatrical project featuring a doll, he was horrified to discover that the doll bore a striking resemblance to the levitating girl from that fateful night. The eerie incidents that followed seemed like a series of ominous messages from the other side. The artisan who crafted the doll vanished, a scriptwriter's house was mysteriously consumed by flames, and many other accidents plagued the rehearsals. Now perhaps the most unsettling of all were the injuries that specifically targeted the right hand and right knee of the crew members. Seeking solace, Inagawa turned to temples and shrines, even resorting to placing the doll in a coffin, which did bring temporary respite. However, the malevolent force persisted, claiming the life of Inagawa's father. The doll's curse also weighed heavily on Mr. Maeno, the puppeteer who took it home, leading to a considerable decline in his mental health. In 1979, an interview about the doll on a TV program turned surreal. All the usual things. Lights flickered, technical glitches ensued, and audience members grew uneasy. Maeno's behavior was unnerving as he conversed with the doll as if it were a living entity. Strangely, the episode has been lost to time, adding to the eerie mystique surrounding the cursed doll. Screenshots and eyewitness accounts stand as eerie remnants. Inagawa's continued attempts to rid himself of the doll have met with bizarre obstacles, including a reclusive doll maker working in seclusion and the cancellation of an interview. Now, the doll eventually found its way to a friend in Nishizu, sparking a fresh wave of strange occurrences. And then, mysteriously, the doll vanished from the shrine, leaving no trace. If I was anybody, I would just let it be. It doesn't want to be found, let it vanish. Number 1, Licca Chan. So the world of creepy dolls just got even stranger, folks, as we delve into the chilling lore of the Licca Chan doll. You see, this doll is no ordinary ordinary plaything. It is a tale that's gonna send shivers down your spine and mine. This doll has been compared to the very popular Barbie. She was so beloved in Japan that the manufacturer set up a phone line for eager young folks to call and chat with, the doll herself. Or at least they thought they were. So rumors began circulating that some of the folks who called in were hearing unsettling messages from Licca, such as, "I'm coming to your house to kill you." It's the stuff of nightmares. Now let's dive into the dark urban legend that followed. So imagine a young girl, too old to play with dolls, who decides to discard her cherished doll. She throws it in the trash and her family relocates to a new city. Innocent enough, right? Yeah, that's when things take a turn. Upon returning home from school, the girl answers a phone call from an eerie voice claiming to be her doll, who honestly states, "I'm on the rubbish dump, I was abandoned, but I'm coming home." Now the girl dismisses it as a prank, but grows increasingly uneasy as subsequent calls hint at the doll's eerie presence. The final call chills her to the core as the voice claims, "I'm outside your house, open the door." Now the girl peers out the window to find nothing, sighs in relief only to hear, "I'm right behind you," and the tale ends there, leaving us with a hair-raising sense of dread. But there's more to this cursed doll's lore. The company manufacturing this doll made an error during production, producing a single batch of three-legged dolls, and even though they recalled most of them, some slipped through the cracks and ended up with the public. One particularly unsettling story involves a woman who found a three-legged doll in a public restroom. To her horror, the doll's deformed purple third leg moved and its tiny mouth whispered, "My name is Licca Chan, and I'm cursed, I'm cursed, I'm cursed." Now the haunting voice tormented our narrator relentlessly, leading to a nightmarish descent into madness. Other variations of the legend feature the three-legged doll playing gruesome games of hide and seek, impaling unsuspecting victims, or even growing a cursed leg on anyone who dared flush it down the toilet. It's safe to say, you might want to think twice before throwing out that old doll from when you were young. And that brings us to the end of our time, and all I have to say on the matter is, nice creepy scary dolls, please don't curse me, I'm dealing with enough as it is. If you enjoyed my ramblings today, could you help us out by giving this video a like, subscribing if you aren't already, hit the bell for more doll talk from us here at Top 5 Scary Videos, and I'll see you all next time, you lovely spooky people.